Welcome to the Winedown, an afternoon podcast where two techie blokes sit down over a bowl of wine and chat about what's happening in the world of tech. Enjoy while Scott and Nick open up about their week in technology.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome back to the Winedown. I'm Nick. I'm here with
Scott.
Hello, Scott. How are you?
Hello, Nick. Well, there's a repetitive introduction if I've ever heard one.
59 times now I've done that same
You
introduction.
reckon we would have worked out who we are by now? Okay.
Not the 5 people who watch us. No, I don't think so. But anyway, welcome back to the Winedown. Scott, where are we? What are we drinking?
Hey, we're in the Greens today. So this is just at the side of North Sydney. And look, we've got a bottle of GSM, so a Grenache Shiraz Mataro from Cinnabar. It's a little place on McLaren Flat down in the Barossa. Now, what's interesting about this, it's a 2020, it's fairly fresh, but certified organic,
Okay.
low preservative,
Okay.
vegan friendly,
Vegan friendly, my
and
goodness.
biodynamic.
What does that mean?
I don't know, but if you put more words on this, I think it's going to just sort of blow out from what it actually describes the wine as, but it's actually quite nice.
It didn't start off so good. I think one of our parties said today that it was adequate when he started, but I think a bit of air in the wine, it's got a bit better.
Perhaps a bit of maturity of palate too comes a long way.
Yeah, and I think if you showed the bottle, people can see how much we've consumed of it. So, well,
Yes.
there's not a lot left, really, is there?
Anyway.
But there were 3 of us, so it's
Yeah,
all
fine.
good. So today's topic.
Oh, so look, I'll tell you what. I got a new iPhone 13 Pro Max.
A what?
This is a real phone for those that, yes,
Here we go.
those that don't use Android. So anyway, and I thought, okay, look, I've got this great new phone.
Yep.
It supports the latest in 5G.
Yep.
I'm going to go and turn the 5G
You've
plan
been vaccinated, right?
on. That's right.
So you're set up for 5G.
I'm set up for 5G, that's right. So I've got the latest 5G plans on,
Yep.
and I thought, I'm going to try this out and see what it's like. So I thought we'd talk about initial experiences with 5G today.
I think that's a really good idea. Now, I did read, and I could be wrong, but I know Telstra 4G wasn't proper 4G, and I believe Telstra 5G isn't proper 5G either.
But you know, that's not just Telstra. I think the issue is, what is proper 5G?
Yes.
Every carrier has their variants on 4G as well. And
So
look,
when we talk about Wi-Fi, and we did our Wi-Fi episodes, and there's
We did.
a thing above Scott's head telling you where to click on that to see that episode, if you're watching on YouTube. But when we did our episode on Wi-Fi, we had 802.11 and all those standards. There's no standards around 3G, 4G, 5G. Well, there are standards, but
there are, but you know what?
Yeah.
And this is the whole thing. 5G is just 5G.
yep.
You don't want to know it about all the little letters or other options that can appear after the names. It's not well used, it's not well known, and it doesn't help anybody.
Okay.
They've actually done a good job of marketing the whole concept of 5 is in theory better than 4, therefore everybody should go and buy 5.
Now I did hear that 3G, and this is when I was in South Africa, so it probably wasn't politically correct, but 3G stood for girls, gambling and games. What does 4G and 5G stand for?
Look, I don't know. You know, the success I've had with 4G and 5G when I've really wanted to use them usually means 4 goes and 5 goes getting a connection.
All right. So let's talk about 5G. What makes 5G special?
Okay, so look, there's some things from the telco side
Yep.
that are going to help with a lot of things, and there's some things from the consumer side. But the best thing I've found out so far about 5G is the marketing.
I thought you were going to talk about things that help people here.
Well, it depends. There's some good marketing. They've got some really cool ads going out there telling
Yep.
about 5G. Look, the reality is 5G is an advancement on 4G.
Yep.
Yes, agree. It has access to more spectrum, so you can get faster connections.
Yep.
It also has the ability to have what we say are low latency connections, and latency measures the speed between you and the object you're trying to communicate to.
And we talked about that when we were talking about Starlink.
Yes,
And
that's
then
right.
we talked about how latency, when you have a geostationary satellite,
Yes.
it's so 100 milliseconds, and when it's Starlink, it's a lot less. And
In Starlink's case, because their satellites are not very high up in orbit.
Yep.
They are in orbit, but they're not very high up. the amount of time it takes to get a signal from the ground up and back again is actually quite low compared to where the main geostationary satellites are. That could be anywhere up to about 600 milliseconds.
Right.
And you really want this thing to be like 10 milliseconds.
But with 5G, it's just me to the tower onto
right.
fibre, probably onto
Yeah.
some network. But there's still some translation that happens there,
You're
right?
usually talking about the response time between you and the tower.
Right.
Now, in some cases, the towers haven't got fibre into them.
Yep.
In which case, they've got microwave and other things going out to feed them. But that is the sort of latency you're dealing with. And look, 5G has a much improved latency, so the latency is a lot less. Look, generally around 10 milliseconds. Now, that can go up a little bit. It can decrease a dash, probably down to 8, but it's going to go up to maybe 20 or 25, depending on what you're talking to on the network.
Right, and I would say if you're watching this, you're going, I don't know what latency is. If you've got kids who play Xbox or PlayStation or games, they'll tell you exactly what latency is, because they all know.
Latency is how quickly can I get a response?
Yep.
And it's measured in milliseconds now.
And in an online game, it's how quickly can I get killed by someone else.
That's right, because if you think that you perform an action and your competitor gets a response in, say, 10 milliseconds, and can then take action on that response, but it takes you 100 milliseconds, they may have already responded before you've even got the feedback of what you've just done.
Yeah, and absolutely. So, latency, we've covered latency, but that's not all the picture, is it?
Look, latency is a lot less, and that is helpful. Speeds are higher. You can get, realistically up to about 1 gig and a bit.
Okay.
Technically up to 4 gig if you really want to perform some masterful magic close to a base station with multiple nodes and things, but look, that's not realistic. You can get up to 1 gig. I think the issue is this is being promoted as it's faster, look, it's quicker in the latency, it's going to solve a lot of problems. But
like what problems?
What is the problem?
Yeah.
What exactly is it we're trying to solve?
Yep.
For the majority of people, look, just getting access to your email on the phone, be able to make a call, do a bit of video conferencing, that actually works pretty well on 4G.
Yes.
So why do
And I don't care about 4K video on my phone because the screen's too small and I'm too old to see the difference.
That's right, and your phone can go and create those really high resolution pictures, but at some point you actually start to lose the ability to tell the difference.
Yeah, for sure.
So look, you can get better responses, and for things like big iPads that are out there, that's actually quite an interesting
concept. Does it handle
concept.
more users?
It does. You can actually get more users, about 10 times more really, per the same area as you would have with 4G. So that helps.
That multiplies the same for the bandwidth, right? You get about 10 times the bandwidth too.
You can.
Right.
But as per all bandwidth discussions we've had, we had this with Wi-Fi as well, you need to be close to your base station to get higher speeds.
Okay.
And reality is, unless you're a few hundred metres from the base station at most, probably a couple of hundred metres at most, you're not really going to see a lot of difference compared to what you did before.
Right. Now, if I knew properly, and I read your notes, so I probably know some stuff now, 5G uses a higher frequency than 4G, which means, if I remember learning about this stuff, it struggles in penetrating walls.
That's right.
It's way more line of sight. You get more bandwidth down it, but it's harder to propagate inside buildings, inside lifts, inside blah, blah, blah.
You can stick a lot more on it, but think of it like a big boat that's really quick. It doesn't turn very well. If you put obstacles in the way, it just runs into them.
So does that mean we're always going to see a world where we have this mixture of 4G, 5G, 6G, but there'll always be some 3G and 4G mixed in just to make it all work?
I think you'll find the lower networks will start to get turned off at some point. Not anytime soon, but we've already seen where the older 2G/CDMA style networks, the analog networks, are being turned off. And that's actually more from a matter of ease of management from the carrier side, not having to manage other networks, but also they can free up the spectrum used by those networks to make it available for more 4G capacity.
Now we talked about 5G as if it's available everywhere. Talk about coverage, Scott.
Oh, gee, I tell you what. Look, middle of the year, Telstra said, hey, we cover 5G across 75% of the population. I thought, that's great. But you know what? I'm actually thinking now it's more like, which 75% of me are you covering? Because whenever I try to go and use it, I either find that the signal's very weak, or it's actually causing me a problem that the phone's trying to maintain a 5G signal on one bar, where really I'll get better results out of 4G on
Oh, now
4 or 5
I've
bars.
got to talk about bars. So everyone will see this little indicator of your signal strength on your phone with
Yes.
a number of bars. And you talk about 5 bars or 4 bars. Is there any standard for that?
No.
No, there isn't, is there?
In fact, there's a nice bitmap you can stick on your phone, and it would mean just the same thing.
Years ago, we wanted to publish an app called 5 Bars, which was just a little bitmap that went over that indicator, and you always had 5 bars wherever you were.
And it would be just as accurate as some of these.
Exactly.
It has gotten better. In the US, I know some of the telcos have gotten in trouble in court for their version of what that looks like.
Yep.
Because if you always show 5 bars, people think, oh, I've always got great coverage here, and you tell all your friends about it, and therefore they'll go and buy the ABC plan off that carrier. It's no better than anybody else, and it really depends on how close you are to your base station.
Yes.
What's in the way. But if I go and say, look, and I measured this near a base station, I got about 700 and something megabits per second.
Yep, down.
Yeah.
You didn't get that up. It's very asynchronous, isn't
At
it?
the same point, I don't know what I'm going to do with 700 megabits per second on a phone. I'm not
I can
using
think
a
of
phone
some
for that.
You tether it to your PC, and you'll work and you'll do things, right?
I will,
Yeah.
but the reality is that's not really the prime use case. The mobility, improved mobility, yes, but if you need 700 megabits per second on your PC to be able to effectively do your job, you're not going to be relying upon distance to a tower and all these other. You're going to be putting fibre into your house and staying there.
Well, no, I must say, it's quite often I download a 5 or 7 gig DVD, of an operating system or something while I'm out watching the kids do something on a Sunday because I am that sad.
But if that download took 10 more minutes, would it really matter?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because your DVD player, analog device,
I'm trying to do stuff. Right? It's an operating system. I'm trying to install a VM. I want to test something. It's productivity, right?
Yeah, it is. And I'm just not convinced that a lot of the real uses there. Most people should be able to work fine off 1 or 2 meg on a phone.
Yep.
And get the data they need. And I really think that's covering like 80% plus of most people's use cases out there. It just has to work.
You're funny. You're almost like the Liberal government here. You're going, we don't need the NBN because who needs all that bandwidth to do stuff? But when you think about the scenarios where this starts being really useful, in telehealth, in getting access to people who are might be injured, you might be on site, you might be on away from your normal infrastructure, and having to access high fidelity video conferencing or move around large amounts of data. People do move around large amounts of data.
Okay, well let's say that there was a person who was injured, needed to be serviced by telehealth. Let's hope they get injured within a couple of 100 metres of a 5G base station.
That's the other point, isn't it? You can't go very far from the base station.
No, this is it. And the further out you get, you're going to start getting down to the 1 to 2 meg sort of. Now,
does a COVID vaccine help with that? No, it doesn't, does it?
I thought, wasn't 5G the cause of COVID?
Could have been.
Was it the other way around?
I don't know.
I forget.
I don't know. I don't keep up with all the
interesting topic
pseudoscience.
to look up. I tell you though, but from the telco side of the industry, and this is probably things that are not as well known, there is a preference to moving to 5G. Just that a lot of the 5G infrastructure offered by the manufacturers, you've got like Nokia, Ericsson, companies that are actually making a lot of these cell tower 5G bits of equipment. A lot of their infrastructure now is running virtualized systems.
Right.
So at the bottom of every base station, you may actually find a little server running a number of VMs, providing all these different functions. That's better because you can upgrade them remotely. It's all software controlled.
Yep.
You don't have to send people on site. Versus a lot of the 3G and especially and quite a bit of the 4G gear, that was physical boxes. That's physical hardware out there that people had to go to, do site visits, plug cables in, upgrade new firmware, have outage plans, and so it's the next generation in rollout of.
So being able to manage those things remotely is really cool.
Yeah,
that's what you want to be able to do.
It generates operational efficiencies. It generates speed to market for new products. There's a whole lot of efficiencies behind the scenes here, and that also allows retirement of a whole bunch of physical gear at the POPs that just isn't necessary anymore.
Yeah. Now, even though you might have bought a 5G device, it won't necessarily automatically work on 5G, will it?
Well, no. You've got a couple of things. One, you've got to have 5G coverage at the base station, and if your base station hasn't been upgraded yet, then clearly you're not going to get that. So you'll drop back to 4G or 3G.
Yep.
I was at a site yesterday that had bad cell coverage, and I was getting 3G. I was very depressed. Holding the phone up in the air and everything, and no, I didn't.
Putting your finger in your ear, wearing tinfoil hats.
Yes, it was quite bad. I will actually say that's an area when you look at the coverage maps that says, yes, 5G is here. I can tell you, it's not there.
It's not there.
The map looks wonderful. And this is the issue that if you are near a base station and you've got some fairly good accessibility and coverage, you'll get a good result. You may find it's a bit faster to download that email.
You've also got to contact your provider in some cases and get your plan upgraded.
So in my case, I was on a Telstra plan, and my old plan actually didn't support 5G. I thought, so I actually had to pay about $10 more to upgrade to a 5G plan to know that I can get 5G, but it was worse than what the plan I was on because I was getting 1 bar in 5G versus what I was getting before. So I thought, okay, that's not great.
So cool. So 5G's here though.
Yeah, look, it's here, and I think it's going to be very good.
It's like when 3 came out. Coverage was so spotty, but quite quickly, you just found it to be ubiquitous.
Yeah, but I do look at some respects as 5G being, here is the new model of car, of whatever you're used to. But this model now does 500 kilometres an hour.
Yep.
I get it. You can only drive it at 60 on the roads, but hey, it does 500. What are you going to use this for?
You technology Luddite, you, Scott.
Yes, I know.
I'm a bandwidth hog. I know even at home, we gain a terabyte of data download every month without fail. On my phone, I probably use up all of the corporate data plan. But
you do.
You found out. But certainly, when you're in something like software development, you use a lot of bandwidth.
Yeah, if you've got the right use cases, it'll be very good. And look, in reality, this is where everything's heading. It is the next generation. But I do think we're coming to the point of we're going to have to see the next generation of apps that are going to really show you what can be made of this.
Yeah, but it's funny. It's like when you build railway out to out into the fields.
Yes.
And a town pops up around a railway. When you actually deploy this infrastructure, the use cases appear.
They will.
We know there'll always be use cases that use more bandwidth. Just like there'll always be a demand for quicker, faster, and better computers and more memory and bigger storage, right? That's always going to happen.
What I will say, though, is that in 4G, because you had a lot longer coverage areas, you can put a base station somewhere and know that, okay, for the next few kilometres outside around that, that's where the coverage is.
Yes.
5G, because it doesn't really extend that far to get the benefit, means you're actually putting up a lot more, not an increased number of cells. We have what we call a pico cell or a micro cell, all around the place to fill in all those gaps.
But you have the opportunity to build smaller cells, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. But we're going to see a lot more of them.
That's cool.
Which also means you've got a smaller number of users per cell, but more cells, so you've got supporting ultimately a greater number of users overall.
So if somebody's thinking, your phone's come to the end of your plan, it's time to get the new U-Butte greatest, get something with 5G?
Oh, look, absolutely. I mean, there's no point not doing it, because you'll have that next device for a couple of years at least, whatever. Yep. And if you can make, when you can make use of it, it'll go well.
Cool.
But I'm yet to see the real apps that are going to drive this.
Okay. So 5G is a good thing. It's still early. There's more coming.
It's watch this space. Yeah. Watch this space.
Have you upgraded to Pentium yet, or are you?
No, is that the one that you don't turn on the handle on the side of the computer?
That'll be the one. We've gone past Babbage's computing engine.
Yes. I just like this to work in more places, that's all.
It's an Apple. We just like it to work, really, wouldn't you?
I've found a very good result out of the apples. At least they're secure. Anyway.
Here we go. Well, brilliant. That's been lots of fun today, Scott.
It has been.
It gets more fun probably after we drunk a bottle of wine. But thank you so much for listening or watching. If you do like what you see, make sure you subscribe. Give us a like. You can find us on Amazon, Audible.com, YouTube, Facebook, or wherever you get your podcasts. So, Scott, thank you for coming today.
Nick, thank you very much.
And thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.